this is. All right, what's up, people? Decided to do like a small last-minute live stream. I have like kind of close to 2 hours that I can utilize here. So I just kind of came on randomly. I want to do sort of a continuation from yesterday's show, which is a deep dive into the female psyche. So today we're going to go over a little bit more about narcissism, why it's there, why it's so prevalent. And, you know, I think these are a little bit more of a modern issue. I think social media, the rise of feminism, birth controls, you know, psychiatric drugs, weed being available, all those things really, really are, you know, adding a lot of, you know, they're just adding a lot of new factors in that women really haven't had to deal with before, and, you know, men as well. So we're going to get started here, see what we can learn. Let's give credit to her. Her channel is Hannah Spire. I really like what she's doing. So we're going to go over a little bit, just get started in this. So thanks for showing up, and let's get rolling here.
Fulfilling the criteria for low agreeableness. And that, in essence, is what narcissism is. It's very low agreeableness. And that low agreeableness is the...
And why is it low agreeableness? Because if they're not, it's their way or the highway. If you're not serving them, then you're in the way. You're just a pawn to them. That's just kind of how it goes.
core of all of the cluster B personality disorders, which is why I've never seen a borderline patient who isn't
Cluster B is what we went over yesterday.
also a narcissist or someone with an antisocial personality disorder isn't also a narcissist, because what it really is that disagreeableness, no concern for others. You're not really uncomfortable when someone else is crying. That doesn't move you the way it moves someone who's very agreeable. And so if you put the questionnaire for low agreeableness next,
which is also a lack of empathy. You know, people who are very self-centered, they obviously don't care about anybody else. You know, they come last. It's their needs first. Your needs don't matter.
To any questionnaire which is designed to screen for narcissism, they're almost exactly the same. And that's how we have all these pop psychologists online who talk about narcissism so much, because it is so easy for people to recognize exactly what they want.
Narcissistic people tend to be snobby. They tend to be elitist.
They are empty inside, genuinely.
Let's just take a look at this really quick. This is Mel Robbins right here. Not her, the lady in the
Recognize
glasses.
exactly what they want.
Narcissistic people tend to be snobby. They tend to be elitist.
They are empty.
Damn it. This other woman with the glasses on, right here. This woman is kind of a fraud. She stole kind of a term like "just let them" and made a book on it. And now she got I think a $30 million podcast deal. And if you kind of start reading about it, she kind of stole a lot of the ideas. So you can look into that a little bit. But what do women usually say? We've heard everyone say it many times. Oh, my ex was a narcissist. You know, we hear that all the time. And what do I like to call that? Not projection, hojection. Okay. If they're calling their ex a narcissist, it's usually because they themselves are a narcissist. Now, they could both be narcissistic. You know, women also like narcissistic men as well. But women love to say, oh, my ex was a narcissist. Well, that's their projection of the narcissism. It's just them who are the narcissists. So, but this is Mel Robbins right here, kind of a fraud. You can look into it on your own.
They are empty inside, genuinely.
Nothing terrifies a narcissist more than exposure.
You don't have to be specific, because the diagnostic criteria aren't very specific. It describes a personality trait. It doesn't describe a pathology the way that the borderline is a pathology or the antisocial personality is a pathology. So that's why I think narcissism belongs much neater in the dark tetrad, together with Machiavellianism and psychopathy and sadism.
This is interesting here. She does such a good job. Very interesting. Well, I'm not quite sure how this graph works, but narcissism is over here. Sadism is here. Machiavellianism. So it probably works like going diagonal like this. That's very interesting. So a lot of times narcissists will be okay with, sadistic things happening. What's up, man? Thanks for showing up. I kind of just did this live at the very last minute here, so I'm just going to do what I can on it.
That's a much better descriptive category for narcissism than a clinical diagnosis. So that's why I agree with this opinion that it should be taken out. But if we're going to talk about it, I want to make it specific. And that's what I want to do with this.
I'm basically doing a continuation of what I was doing yesterday, more into female psychology. I might do 10 of these or something like that. I'm really learning a lot from here. And how about you put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard a woman say oh, my ex was a narcissist. It's such a broad statement, but number one, it makes them not be accountable and seem like, they can just blame everything on their ex. And number two, it's usually their hojection. He was a narcissist. Well, that really probably means you're a narcissist. If you just pick that out of thin air, that's probably because you are that way and you're looking for a justification.
Episode. I want to make concrete how you can recognize narcissism in women, because it's never talked about. And it is so interesting because with our sort of cultural trends of empathy first, women learn already as girls to dress up their language as empathy, as compassion. So they learn to speak the language of agreeableness while the actual trait agreeableness disappears under this constant mantra with which we raise girls. You do you have to assert yourself, you have to be confident, all of those things. is designed for agreeable girls who need to learn to stand up for themselves. But we have somehow universalized that for all girls. With that, we're giving girls license to be disagreeable, which is the core of narcissism. And I have to say, as a mother, that is something I will teach my boys very early, to screen for a woman who is agreeable, because within agreeableness lies sacrifice. And you do want to marry someone.
And what also lies with that, selflessness, being selfless, wanting the best for the group. When it comes to agreeableness, it's very difficult to find right now in a woman. And how nice would it be, just say go along to get along. You know what I mean? Like, we can't always all get our way all the time, but like, women say they want a guy to lead. Well, it's like, you got to agree and want to be led. You have to, do a little bit of that too.
Someone who doesn't find it beneath her to sacrifice for the family. Within agreeableness also lies gratitude. And we know that showing gratitude every day in a relationship is so important for its long-term success. But before we start with the first red flag, please like and subscribe. That will help me a lot. And also head on over to Psychobabble on Substack, where I host live streams, where I host Google Meets.
She does a good job. I actually might subscribe to some of that. I'm actually really learning a lot.
At least once a month, and there we can discuss things in a better format than here. I enjoy them very much. I love hearing what people have to say and discussing things real time. That is also where all of my articles are. So if you ever wonder about any sources or want to look closer at the research to which I'm referring, then please head on over to Substack. That is where I'm most active. The first red flag.
And this is actually a real doctor in the field, which is helpful too. And I think, for some reason, I think she's outside of the United States, which I think kind of, she can look at things a little bit more objectively.
Is pay attention to what she does, not what she says. Because as I mentioned, they learn to speak the language of agreeableness, of empathy and compassion. And narcissism is in women very much cloaked, very much disguised. That it makes it very, very hard to spot for us. And more specifically, you want to look at, how is she with her friends? When you first start dating, observe her with her friends. If she has a friend who's less attractive than her, that is where you really want to focus your attention. How does she behave with a friend who she considers lower status than her? The first sign of inconvenience, cancel her plans with a friend who's less attractive than her. That is a red flag. With a friend she wants to please, with a friend who she wants approval from, you'll see that even if she's tired, she'll go to the birthday party. Even if she's having a rough week, she'll do something that friend asks, but she won't do that for someone she's not seeking approval from. The second red flag has to do with this language that's used, and that's really something I'm going to come back to here. The language.
Also, too, a couple other things that we could look for with that same category is they use the less attractive friend as a pawn to make, uplift themselves, whether it's for their own purposes or in front of men. That's another thing too. Also, I think what she's about to say, the language, you'll see the language that when they're with their friends. I don't know if you've ever, been around a group of women and they thought they're just doing girls talk. They talk about men like they're just disposable. Everything that they say that they feel like they're treated, they talk about men that same way. So they really, it's really an inversion. In the language, we'll see what she says about the language.
Is so important now because they learn to cloak the narcissism. What's very common is this.
I really hate everybody, and that's just me being real. Yeah.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies.
I'm just being real.
Yeah, all that stuff is so trendy now. It's so annoying. Like, I just want to be in the moment and shit. It's just like, and it's not even them saying it. They're lip syncing it.
You have to be honest. They're trying to make rudeness into a virtue. And that's something girls learn very early on. Now I see it with my own daughter, my own daughter's friends. They are so rude all the time because they're constantly taught to be confident. So parents confuse rudeness with confidence in girls, only in girls, all the time.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Probably more about Gen Z, millennial girls. They're sometimes just straight up rude. Being rude is not attractive as a woman. Again, it's no class, it's no decorum. It's usually a lack of vocabulary. They're saying bro or bra. they're repeating something snarky that they heard, or they're just very cynical about something. Oftentimes it's not even something that they created. If someone's rude and says like something funny, I will let it slide, but usually it's not even anything funny or anything of value. It's just like very rude. Which is difficult because you can't respond back. You can't meet them with the same. So basically, I think everyone deserves a basic level of respect until I lose that level of respect. So if someone is rude to me right off the bat, I will probably be either just neutral or probably rude to them. So a lot of that happens, even if you look at messaging a girl online dating or something like that, if you do one typo, she's like, "Oh, are you retarded? You can't spell," and stuff. Or they're just like, looking to jump down your throat. And just rude is not classy. And a lot of times it's lack of vocabulary as well. Whiteout writes in, it's usually B-dubs who are like this. Yeah. For anyone new who's listening, B-dubs is a code word for black women. And they're definitely like that. So I don't know where all this comes from, but she's saying, so we are getting it back as it's a fake confidence. It's actually more of an arrogance. It's really more of actually of an arrogance. And also another thing too, some women can go around being rude. If you're a man going around being rude all the time, you're going to get called out by everybody constantly, and you may even get hit. So, it's a privilege that they're not getting hit for this. So that's why they can just be rude all the time and say over the top things. It's like, well, you don't really have a consequence for it. Like the best you could do is throw a drink in their face or something like that. No, Brian, it's brain. It's actually you reap what you hoe. Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from entitlement.
They're speaking up for themselves, talking to adults the way I'd never allow my kids to talk to adults. And that continues into adulthood. I'm just being real. I'm just being honest. Like they're doing something good. Wait, they're doing what they've been taught to do. And language also cloaks other types of behavior. This is another red flag. If she does something bad, if she lies, does she then excuse it with mental health language? Oh, I lied. Yeah, but it's just because it didn't feel safe for me to tell the truth.
My trauma was, I have PTSD. I have ADD. My anxiety and depression were kicking in, so I couldn't tell you the truth.
Fear of communication is a trauma response.
When you're not feeling seen or heard, this triggers you to react in ways that you normally wouldn't in most of your other relationships.
Red flag. She insults someone or she insults you. Oh no, it's because your behavior triggered her. She's triggered. Or you catch her flirting with someone. Oh, it's because I'm feeling unseen. Not good. So the low agreeableness will have her prioritize her own needs over everyone else's. That's just within that personality traits, because we've now served this kind of emotional language, it's mental health language, on a silver platter, and girls learn to speak this so early now. They learn it even in school. Then bad behavior very quickly hides behind emotional needs.
I think they're
it also kind of works as like a justification, a vehicle for justification for it. They're like, well, if I say the right terms and I say it the right way, it looks like I'm actually trying to diagnose the problem and work on myself and figure out the mechanics to do better next time. Nope. She hoed the row. Yeah. Well, that's what a hoe does. What does a hoe do? It digs down into the dirt. So what? Either pipe can get laid into it, and sometimes that pipe lays seed, and a crop comes up, or it just keeps digging, and it becomes like a grave. You can bury a body down in a ditch. It's just a rut.
Are people that master the art of lying because they are so insecure about the person they are that they have to make up a new version of themselves for them to feel okay.
No.
And for other people to feel.
No. That sounds good, but a lot of times they're just lying. It's just convenient to lie. It's just easier.
And that brings us to red flag number 4, which is in the same category, the therapist speak girlfriend, I call it.
I am not me right now. I'm my PTSD. Okay. And I know you.
Exactly. This is, a lot of women who go to school for psychology or take, minor in psychology, they talk this way, but it's like, well, you didn't figure out how to make yourself any better. So now you know how to identify the problem, but you're not going to actually fix the problem.
So you don't have to defend yourself. Just know that. And just help me get me out of the episode until I'm able to get myself out of it, okay?
If you're dating someone who knows all the terms, I would say step carefully. If she's talking about attachment styles, trauma bonds, and nervous systems, that's my...
Yep. And here's another red flag, too, that you'll see. So we're at a woman's house, okay? Maybe you've gone on a couple dates, maybe even hooked up with her once or, twice, whatever. So go to her house. I want you to look for a couple things. Go into the bathroom, open the medicine cabinet. Don't dig through her personal items, but, see, are there psych meds in there? Okay. There's another book on the table that will always almost be there. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. A ton of women have this book who are a mess and they think they're figuring it out. The Body Keeps the Score is kind of like a book about how the body and the nervous system stores like trauma and emotions and everything like that. So look for that book. And I'm telling you, you're going to see it. You will see it. You will see that book. The Body Keeps the Score. You will see that book. Let me actually type it in. So you're going to look for psych meds and The Body Keeps the Score. And they'll display that book too to make it look like they're like very, sophisticated.
Favorite boundaries, emotional safety. If she's speaking this kind of language very fluently, I'd be careful because these terms are so often used now to push your own needs forward and as an excuse to trot all over everyone else. And I've spoken about this before. I think that so much female narcissism hides behind mental health labels. But that doesn't mean it's a red flag every time because so many people now have mental health labels. But I would advise one thing. If you're dating a woman and these sort of labels comes up, we were talking about ADHD or autism or bipolar or depression, any sort of mental health label, I would ask her about the treatment. That's where you can really scope out the...
Yeah, what are you doing about it? Are you doing anything about it? Are they working on themselves? Are they eating better? Are they trying to do some actual like real therapy on it? Maybe they're trying to get off their psych meds.
If this is being used as a manipulative method or not. Because sure, having ADHD, it's not in and of itself a red flag. But what you want to know is what sort of treatment is she taking for her problems? When the only thing...
If it's just Adderall, you're probably cooked.
Things that help her are things that accommodate her, things that other people do, things that she needs. That is a very strong red flag. So having ADHD is not a red flag in and of itself, but what she does with it might.
And a lot of times they use ADD as a way to justify taking Adderall, smoking weed, vaping. Oh, I just need to smoke some weed. It really helps calm me down so I can focus. It gets my ADD down. Shit like that.
So you want to know when and how she tells you about it. You rarely hear from a woman who claims she has ADHD that I have to go and exercise every day because I have ADHD and this helps me. Like that would be a good thing,
Exactly.
but that's not usually what you hear. It's usually, oh, I haven't been able to do these and these things that you asked me to do because I have ADHD. It's rarely, I need to go to bed now, I need to have a clear structure in my day, so I'm going to say goodbye because I have ADHD, so I need to keep a clear schedule. Red flag number 6 is giving bad advice to girlfriends. I just had a very interesting conversation with Dr. Danny Solikowski.
Which is basically gaslighting, usually throwing a man under the bus. A lot of women will just throw so women will usually go to advice to their girlfriends about, a man that they're with or something like that. If the girlfriends, they can sabotage it. They can just be, oh, that's him. Or like, we just need to do a girls' night out and you need to, party and let loose. He's trying to hold you down too much. You need to date around more, explore your options. I have this guy, you should meet him, or we should just go to the club tonight. It's usually something like that. And usually dog shit.
be releasing next week, where she talks about this intersexual competition. And she did that amazing study of hairdressers, and she discovered how women advise other women they find threatening or more attractive than them to cut their hair shorter than if a female hairdresser didn't see the client as a threat, she wouldn't advise to cut so much hair. And I think at the bottom of that lies this self-promotion, striving for status, which is the core of narcissism and also a sign of low agreeableness. So does she...
So also too, that's another thing too. They feel they need to slightly sabotage others in order to boost themselves up or just not have as much competition. This is men, women, you know, it could just simply be you're at a restaurant and there's a little kid running around that's getting more attention than she is. She'll be pissed about that. You know, there are men like this too, but we're focusing on women here. They'll be pissed about something like that. And, you know, it's very subtle to pick up on the body language and the small cues and everything about that. But they will be there. We might learn some more today.
Ever say girlfriend is single or just, you know, trying to date? Does she say things like, oh, you should stay single for a while? You know, I'm just concerned for you. I
Exactly.
Just don't want you to get hurt again.
I don't want a boyfriend.
Bad sign. Or really anytime a woman says, I'm just having your best interests at heart, they rarely do. The next thing you want to look for is how do people react around them? How do other women act around this woman? Do they look relaxed? Are they seeking her approval? Because you can see someone's level of agreeableness when they're in a group, because someone who's very agreeable, they will try to make everyone feel comfortable. So people tend to relax more. Or are other women looking at her for approval? Are they trying to up their own status through her? Or does it look like they genuinely like her? But the red flag is, if you are with this date in a group of women and you see other women, they're always checking what she thinks. If they make a joke, they're always looking at her first to check if she laughs. That's a red flag. And that,
because she'll lose her shit and go crazy and sabotage it for everyone else and make it all, but we need to leave now. That joke was inappropriate. Mathman writes in, did you hear what AJ said yesterday about women with high body counts not being able to pair bond with their babies? Absolutely wild. Well, there's a theory, Mathman, that kind of like, so a woman's baby can also be like the accumulation of all the guys that she's been with. So maybe that has something to do with it. But, you know, it's, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. She has so many soul ties all over the place and so many surface level connections. She can't really make a powerful, deep one like that. So, I do actually find that believable.
goes hand in hand with red flag number 8, which is, how do you feel when you're around her? Can you relax? Is she trying to take care of your needs? Of course, you can fake that. For example, when you give an opinion, is she immediately oppositional? Is she immediately trying to poke holes in whatever you're saying? If you're talking about something you're passionate about.
If you said you like Trump, or, you know, you don't think they should have abortion at, like, you know, 9 months or whatever, is she going to go crazy about that? Is she just going to say, I didn't take the shot, I didn't get vaccinated for COVID-19? Okay? Like, that type of stuff.
Does she immediately say, oh, I don't know if it's quite like that? A very agreeable person wouldn't do that. Red flag number 9. Okay, let's say you're with her and you're with a group of friends and there's a conflict. Then let's say you're walking home with her, and if she's a very agreeable woman, she'll be plagued by what's happened. They don't like conflicts. She'll try to figure out how it could have been avoided. It's not something.
That's good. That's good. That means she wants what? Harmony. They don't want conflict. Again, this trait of agreeableness is one of the most powerful traits that you can look for. And it just makes them so much easier to get along with. It's just lack of stubbornness in a lot of ways.
She wanted to happen. Maybe even investigate her own part in it. That's a really great sign. So typically an agreeable person will say, oh, that was unnecessary. We could have had a nice evening. But a disagreeable woman will say, can you believe she said that to me? Can you believe she did that? So be very insulted at the other people, not really concerned with how the evening came out and that nobody enjoyed themselves. 10, you will discover when, and that's a conversation you just have to have, when you talk about past boyfriends. Are her demands so high that nobody matches what she deserves? That's the question you want to have in the back of your mind. Women seek status through...
We see this all the time.
High value mates. We know this. And so that is also where we'll find narcissism in women, because narcissism is striving for status in the easiest possible way with low effort. So what type of man she thinks she deserves is a very good screening method for this in women. So that's where you can find red flags.
Again, because it's what is that basically? It's another form of their projection. They think like I am just an absolute dime piece. So I need a rich guy with all this awesome stuff because I'm a 10 out of 10. I tell myself I'm a 10 out of 10, therefore I am a 10 out of 10. I'm a badass boss bitch, independent woman, single mom out here crushing it. That's the mentality. So they feel that mantra or whatever will get them that every time.
I think the next one is the contemporary causes. Also one of the most visible status seeking things today, and especially with women, because they cloak these causes in the empathy. I'm just compassionate. I just love the climate. The birds. Not that there are never any causes to protest.
Again, this is a lot of virtue signaling to be, like, I'm such a compassionate person. I really love the environment. I care deeply about the right thing, and I care about it to show you how virtuous I am, and I need to shove my virtue down your throat. What's up, Keyshawn Jones?
And I'm not saying that this cause is worthy and that cause isn't, but a red flag would be if, did she first protest Trump and then she protested Ukraine and then she protested Free Palestine? Or can she actually give a coherent explanation why she's protesting?
Exactly. Well, also, too, there's a couple things going on here. Are they just merely programmed? Are they a sheep? Some people do actually really care about these things, but it's like, well, why do you care about it? Who told you to care about it? Did you care about it before it's popular? Most people didn't give a damn about Ukraine until they were told to. They don't even know where it is on the map. I'm actually Ukrainian, so I've always had a fascination with that Russia-Ukraine border area. I have friends and I know people from there and stuff like that. So, why didn't you care about it in 2014 when they had all that stuff going on in Crimea? Oh, it wasn't as popular then. Okay, now I get it. Okay. They'll never have a dynamic opinion of anything.
Why she's out there with the signs and the rest. I would just want to have that investigated. And I think you can find some red flags if you go into that conversation. Or, did you protest the climate 10 years ago and she's still protesting the climate? Maybe those feelings are genuine. And then you want to look at the Instagram, because you have this sort of Instagram moralist where they put online, it's all about compassion and women supporting women and healing. And I mean, personally, I think it's a red flag. Posting about healing and journey, and you have all these sort of
healing, journey, a lot of these key terms. Hello, Red Door Woman. A lot of these key terms they're just merely virtue signaling. They're saying the right things. They're triggering the algorithm. They're activating the NPCs. That's what a lot of this stuff is. And they're trying to say like, wow, she seems like she cares about healing herself, so she must be a really good woman. It's like, well, what are you healing from? How about that? How about actually just be healed? You could also just do that too and just, keep it to yourself.
Flag words, doing the work, because they rarely do the work. So that's where you want it in private.
Exactly. So a ton of the things that they say, it's the opposite. It's the inverse. So I'm on my healing journey. That probably means they're in their hoe phase or something like that. You guys know the deal with a lot of that. But with a lot of these things, like I'm in therapy, I'm doing the work. That just means they're going to some therapist, female therapist, feminist, who's like gaslighting them. And it's like, yeah, on paper you went to the therapy, but did you actually stop vaping and stop abusing Adderall and smoking weed every day? You didn't do any of those things? Then you're not really like doing much. So, look for those. But a lot of times, and I'm not saying assume what they say is always the opposite, but oftentimes it happens to be that way.
Is she contemptuous and competitive and envious and cruel? And then you have this public persona about being on journeys and healing and being just so nice. Does she go and help her less attractive friend without posting about it? A narcissistic woman really wants to be seen as compassionate because that is how you get status today. But she is not kind when she's inconvenienced by a friend who cannot help her towards status. When she's
Exactly. So are they going to help a homeless person on the street without filming it? They only help people to basically exploit the process of helping the person. It's all about the outer image. That they don't have a fulfilling inner world. Like I said last night, and I've said a couple times, there's two scenarios. Number one is you climb Mount Everest, you successfully summit it, you know, you did it, but your SD card on your cameras or phone are all gone, and really no one really believes that you did Mount Everest except a couple like Sherpas who were there with you. But you really did it, and that's awesome. Or option two, which is you didn't actually do it. You kind of went to the base camp and you took a ton of pictures at the top, and everyone socially thinks that you did it. And you get the social credit, maybe you get a book deal, all this stuff. Most people want that. That's what the narcissist would want. They don't care about the inner winning of it, the inner accomplishment, those things. They don't really value that. And our current culture doesn't really value that as much either. So we see an echo chamber of that.
Convenienced by an ugly friend. And so that brings us to the next one, which is you want to look for humility. That is one of the core features in agreeableness. Does she feel uncomfortable talking about herself? That would be a good sign. If you're having a conversation with her and she deflects and starts talking about you, amazing. That's what you want to have happen. Or does
that will only happen if it's a difficult topic. If you ask her well, how many guys were you with? How many threesomes did you actually get in? Were you in a sorority in college? Things like this. I'm uncomfortable. I have trauma and PTSD about it. I'd rather not. Let's just change topic. Okay.
Every
Please.
Conversation somehow end with her talking about her own experience. Oh, this happened to me too, and just completely monopolize the conversation. Red flag. Doesn't mean that every woman who does this is a narcissist. That's why I'm calling it red flags. It just means, maybe investigate further. And this is so important because you do not want the mother of your children to be a disagreeable woman. That's gonna end badly. Why? Because she's going to think that sacrificing for the family is an
inconvenience. She's going to think it's an inconvenience. It's a pain in the ass to her. She's going to be a terrible mom with the kids. Kids are sometimes little bastards and, want to troll you and not, they make it as difficult as possible. And, you need someone who is selfless, not selfish. You just, especially when it comes to a family or something like that. Red Door Woman writes in, the goal of a narcissist is to do anything that feeds their ego. Yeah. Yeah. And most of that is when it comes to their ego, it's their outer recognition, their persona, their ego. And let me put out what ego is here, which I heard of an interesting thing of ego. Ego stands for edging out God. Oh, I didn't make this up. Somebody else did. I think it's an interesting take on that.
Think that cooking and cleaning for the family is beneath her. And this is really a topic that's very close to my heart because it pains me. It pains me to see how women talk about motherhood, how even conservative media, how they portray motherhood. There's so much narcissism in it because it's about the woman. It's not so much about the kids or the babies. It's about how motherhood affects the woman. It is completely blown out of proportion.
How many times are they going to get their nails done and go out for sushi and get pounded by some guy? Like, how many times are they going to do that? There are some women that generally do not want kids, and that's fine, but they're not out there telling you about it. They don't have to show you about how they're winning that they didn't have kids. They just say, like, I have a more peaceful life having kids. So say my sister has a bunch of kids. I get to see them. And, after about 2 hours, they're like, I'm done with it. It's too loud. It's just not for me. So, there are some women out there who are like that, but it's not as many as they're trying to make it seem. And if they are really like that, they don't have to tell you about it. People in good, happy relationships don't have to show you how happy they are. They're just happy and doing their own thing.
And every time I read it, it's like, girls, we have been doing this since the dawn of time, quite literally. Is it such a big deal? Is it such being a stay-at-home mother, and I am one, is not harder than going out to work every day? When you hear women talk about motherhood and it starts revolving around themselves, I think that's a bad sign. They emphasize how it affects them negatively.
That's another thing too. A lot of times they're using the child as a pawn for their own vanity on social media. Many times. We see it all the time. And some men do this too. It's a guy who's like kind of a shitty dad sometimes, like, but they give the online image that they're awesome, but the dad still does blow, and could be cleaning it up. He's still at the bar every weekend drinking and doing blow. He's not really cleaning it up. So are you really the best dad? You're probably an okay dad, but they paint the picture like they're Jesus.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to step on some feet here, but they do inflate the sacrifice in it while complaining nonstop. They post about the hardships. They have that one baby, and then
and this person had to set up the camera to do this, to set up the camera to show things to you.
Every morning they post about how they didn't sleep. Is that really proportionate? And then that leads to them treating the fathers unfairly. Every single woman I know will force the father who has to go to work to do night shifts just so that it's 50-50 because of all of the hardship and the sacrifice, even though he has to go to work and she's on maternity leave. That is crazy to me. So I think that's...
Yep. Another thing too is just the narcissist is just not going to be a team player in any environment with anything. They'll be part of a team, but they're going to put themselves first in the team. I'm trying to remember. There was a couple scientists who were like that.
The first sign of narcissism in motherhood.
The guy who did the light bulb, Thomas Edison, was like this. He was famously like this. He stole basically a lot of credit from Tesla and other people working to support him. He says, I actually found the right filament for the light bulb. No, you didn't. It was a team effort. Most things are team effort, but we just, through history, whoever gets the credit is kind of, who wins a little bit. So that's why narcissists always want the credit, the social credit. That's of their ego.
For inflating the sacrifice that comes with it and how it affects them negatively as a person. The next one is this contempt for ordinary female duties. They want the status of femininity, and there is more attention now to women should be feminine again, but they still think that cooking and cleaning is sort of beneath them. I think a sign of narcissism in women is wanting that admiration for being feminine, but still having contempt for female duties. They'll never talk about what it means to be a good...
Another thing too that's important to point out. A lot of times they think this is beneath them. They're not going to like this. What it's actually underneath that? Racism. They want some old Filipino woman to come in and be the nanny and do all the stuff that they don't want to do. That's beneath me. I'll pay the nanny like $12 an hour. That's part of something that's there. They don't want to admit that. I'm not saying it's all racism. Some of it actually is racism. They have Consuela come in to do the stuff that they don't want to do. They have the Mexican gardener do shit that they don't want to do. It's a bunch of, I'm just saying it's an underlying factor that no one really talks about much. Women will never bring that up.
Good mother, for example. It relates to what we just talked about before, that she wants to be seen as maternal, but she still resents every daily sacrifice. She still resents having to get up in the night to breastfeed. They'll speak about motherhood as something that nobody has ever done before, and that they want to be seen as delicate and fragile, and they want that masculine provision, but they don't want to do their part. We can't start to talk about what female duties are.
Also, too, part of it, too, is the very process of having the baby is, usually it's a mistake kid. Okay. So it starts off with a mistake kid, but they kind of turn around. So then she gets engaged. That gets attention. They have an engagement party. Then she gets married, has the wedding planning, the honeymoon. Okay. Then the baby shower. Then the baby is born. Okay, there's 5 things of attention that she gets. Now, once the baby's born, it goes down to 0 because there's or it gets cut down a lot. So they have all this going up and up their way, and then it plateaus, and they don't like that. They can't deal with that. And we've seen that's part of what or I don't know a lot about postpartum depression, but I would imagine that's a factor in it. that it's not all about them anymore. Everyone comes over your house, they just want to see the baby. They don't really want to see you. You know, it's your time to step out of the way and let them be seen. So we've seen a couple women, like one of them, I think her last name was Clancy. She deleted her whole family and then tried to delete herself. I would not be surprised if a lot of that had to do with all the attention going on the children, and she felt like her contribution doesn't matter. The man doesn't get to feel like his contribution matters. Like, once you have a kid, your contributions matter, but they're going towards your child, and that's just the deal. That's just what it is.
Looking pretty. No, it's not about looking pretty. And that's the bone I have to pick with conservatives nowadays, right?
And also, too, that's what I wanted to say, too, like, more women who are like our grandmothers and things like that, they were fine with this. So, like, this is the deal. You know, this is it. Like, you know, my family comes first. I have to shut up sometimes. I have to, you know, I'm always having to do a shit ton of laundry and cleaning and cooking. It's always a mess around here. It's chaos. That's what it is. But they, you know, you should love that contribution. That's a great thing. You know, they should want to cook for their family. Like, a really good grandmother actually wants to be in the kitchen cooking constantly because it's their way to contribute. They love it.
I think they are failing in anti-feminism and really fighting feminism. They will not accurately describe what female duties are. It's just about, we want feminine and we want women to admit that they're fragile and that they need men, but they will still pathologize motherhood and infantilize women who are mothers. And I'm going to do an episode also on this pathologizing of motherhood, of this postpartum depression that's become very popular, because it's a part of this. So I think status without duty, that is where narcissism hides. And with women, you see it in this way.
It's also like job title too. They'll have a job title that's very overinflated. But really, they just send like 5 emails a day. How many times have we seen that in these tech companies? Like, join me as my day, and I'm going into work, and I got to get my matcha. And then I do one team meeting, and then we go out for lunch. Then we play ping pong, and then we have an ideas meeting, and then we wrap up for a roundup meeting at the end of the day and get ice cream together. It's like, well, you didn't really do a ton of work, but you have, you know, the inflated ego of that.
The other thing I see with mothers where I see narcissism is, I know women who run charities and have their fingers in all these different pies, and they get status from that, and they get appreciation, and women are always talking about them like, oh,
Yep. Yeah, it's usually for themselves. To see how good I am, I have to show you how good I am.
look at what they're doing, and they're doing this, and they're doing, I can't believe that she does so much, and oh, she's working all the time. And then you take a look at her personal life, and her husband's exhausted and gaining weight. The kids have attachment issues and aren't behaving properly and clearly need more maternal presence. And she's doing all these things for status, and it's for good things. And I'm just doing this for our community. And then she's neglected.
Yeah, I'm a nurse. Things like that. Thank you, Math Man. I appreciate that. But I don't drink beer anymore. I've had no drinks of any sort for almost like 45 days or something now. I'm feeling really good. I probably lost, and I've been exercising a little bit more and eating more of like a keto diet. And I think I've lost probably like 13 pounds just from like not drinking. I was getting lit all the time, but I know what you mean by saying beer fun. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for showing up here, guys. Like the stream, hype the stream, interact with me.
Affecting the people for whom she really should sacrifice, but doesn't give her any status towards the outside. That is where I do see a lot of narcissism. And then there's the mother whose child proves her specialness. Her child's behavior is never poor, never badly behaved. No, he's highly sensitive, he's gifted, he's misunderstood, his brain is wired differently. If you give any practical suggestion, you're invalidating, you just don't understand. And she'll say things like, oh, we've been to 3 different specialists and nobody understands him. Or finally, the last one, this ADHD.
And a lot of what goes on too is they just let the screens babysit their kid. So when no one's looking, that kid's on a device constantly, just drooling on a device. taking in all that blue light, all that programming, all this dog shit. You know, they're doing that constantly.
Specialist he side, well, of course you're going to see it. If all you have is a hammer, everything's going to look like a nail. And here again, the diagnosis itself, it's not proof of narcissism, but what she does with that diagnosis, which treatment she chooses, how it changes their personal life, that is a sign of, is this diagnosis used in seeking status or not? Is this a genuine thing? And
so also another factor to this too, so beyond when it's just a baby, when it grows up to be, you know, a teenager and she starts looking hot, sometimes mama don't like that. Mama don't want her doing better than she did. Not all the time, but oftentimes, you know, mama might try to steal that boyfriend. Mama might try to sabotage that relationship. Mama wants her to be a single mom because she's a single mom. You know, that happens very often. I don't know if she's going to cover that here. I think it's more about early motherhood. That happens quite a bit. You know, if the mom's a hoe, the daughter will be a hoe. If the mom is drinking constantly, the daughter will be doing it, you know.
the last one is, how does this impact me? This happens to me all the time where I have conversations with other women, with wives, and their husband will have had an accident or broken an arm or something. And the conversation is only about how this affects their day, like how much more they have to do with the kids because, you know, he had this accident. And I'm just like, poor thing. Like, how can he work with this broken arm? Oh, he manages. Like, but me, like, it's not so explicit, but the conversation is about how this impacts her. And once you see that, really feel for these men, huh? I really feel for them. What gets me every time is that, remember what we say?
Yeah, very, very common. Math Man writes in, one of my boys is very much like me. Him and his mother just don't get along very well. Just saying, yeah, you know, yeah, it's tough. I don't know how much, you know, control you have over your kids, how much custody and stuff. This is not to say all women are bad or anything. I'm just saying we see a lot of this with modern women right now in the modern day in the Western women. So we just happen to see a lot of it. So some of the underlying factors, they're just not a team player. They're not on team family. They're not on the team at work. They're not actually not trying to have anyone else win but themselves when they're a narcissist. But we see more and more that women are becoming a little bit more narcissistic. I have an example of what she's saying. Well, how does this affect? Well, I don't think I need to really get into that too much, but basically a short story that's kind of dealing with what she's talking about. I had an ex once that you know, I had a pretty crazy day at work. I was working on a island actually, doing tree work, and I climbed up one tree and I cut that tree, and it kind of went the wrong way, but it was still okay. But then I was going from one tree to another tree and swinging over, and when I did that, I think my rope had like some oil on it or something, or my climbing device failed, and I actually started falling to the ground. So I had to grab the rope with like my hands, and my hands were really fucked up. I didn't really get hurt, but I was, you know, kind of, well, my hands are really messed up. And I was driving home, and she was driving home. We lived near each other, and I saw that she pulled in, so I just pulled in her driveway and said, you know, hey, you know, I had a, you know, this was a really shitty day. I could have been in a wheelchair today, and I was on an island and stuff like that. It was, you know, pretty bad. And she's like, oh, my day, I couldn't get this damn realty sign in and stuff like that. It was just like, she immediately just made it about her. It's like, I almost died here. You know, like, I'm not trying to, and this one time, my thing was more important than your thing. I will still hear about your thing, but, you know, I need a little bit of empathy here. And that just kind of showed me a lot. Mathman writes in, I have them a lot of time. They're teenagers, so they can pretty much go with whoever they like. Nice.
I don't need sympathy. I don't need empathy. I just need the respect. I just need to be honored for what I do. And they can't even get that. So if you want to check that a woman isn't a narcissist, you want to look for humility, you want to look for gratitude, for kindness towards those who don't have a lot of status. You want to ask a lot of questions to find out really why she's saying the things that she is. And you want to find out what she does, not what she says, because women learn from very early on how to speak the language of agreeableness while being very disagreeable. So if you like this, please show your gratitude and appreciation by liking and subscribing, please. That will help me out. And there's a lot more coming. Next week, I'll release the conversation I had with Dr. Danny Silikowski, which is very interesting. And then we'll talk about pathologization of motherhood, of postpartum depression, and how.
So we can do like one more of these, and this one's going to be kind of about what they're calling the ick. I'm sure you guys have heard of this before when they're saying, "Oh, I'm getting the ick." So it's just going to be like, you know, something that, you know, I don't even know. It's really just one thing, one little thing that you do. Like he breathes through his nose and it sounds loud. Now I hate him. Or you guys know what this is. So it's just a way to disqualify you, and you could be a really good person. That's another thing I kind of want to maybe say about the narcissism thing. They don't value someone who's a good person. And I think women right now don't value a man who's a good man, a kind man. They want someone that is a game to them, who treats them like trash, is like a cat and mouse game. You know, this is what they're saying, nice guys finish last. It's more just like kind and good guys are kind of finishing last. Or they're just not they're not finishing last. They're just saying like, I'm not going to participate. Sorry. I'm not going to have a kid with a narcissistic, psycho, drugged up on pharma and other drugs woman. I'm not doing it. And then raising it in a technocratic modern hellscape with fake money. Some people are not doing it. You'd have to find an exceptional woman to get through all that together as a team. And a lot of men are not finding that right now. So let's hear about this ick bullshit.
That are the bare minimum. They are just you being treated properly. Romance has become a theater. It's not about the future. It's about propping up girls' egos even further.
Yeah.
No, I won't.
Oh my god, look at this level of simping. Oh my god. So this is another thing too, guys. Don't be these guys. At this point, just don't participate. Or just move on from that girl. Oh my lord.
That's okay.
I mean, oh yeah, it's cute and sweet until you speak to this mother that I was speaking to the other day. Now she's slightly older than me. She has sons several sons, and they're grown, dating. And she was close to tears. She's a really decent woman, and her son.
Again, I think she's from a Scandinavian country, but now like lives in the United States, and I think that helps give a unique perspective.
Sons are as well. They are educated, employed. They just want to build normal, happy lives. And these girls, she said to me, they don't really have much. They just take and take.
I just turned down a first date I had said yes to. I like that he had made solid plans, but here's the deal breaker. I asked if he was going to send a car for me, and he responded with, "Do you really need that?" I mean, technically no one needs anything, but yes, that's what I want.
You know, they don't have the money for this. She's expecting that he pick her up in a limousine. She's
Again, which is entitlement, narcissism. Crazy. That was insane simping. I don't even know why she was like showing that. That was like ridiculous. You know, and simping is kind of, you know, programmed. Simping is kind of old programming from boomers and 90s movies, 80s movies, things like that. Simping maybe kind of used to work before they had so many options. And it was actually not simping. It was actually a true romantic gesture. So, but that was like insanity.
Things that he cannot afford, not even for himself.
I do not accept a coffee or a walk as a possible date option, and neither should.
Well, if you can't afford to date, don't date. What do you want?
Wow, look at that. Oops, sorry, wrong one.
She belongs to the streets. You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
And there's no reciprocity. There's no thoughtfulness.
Exactly, guys. This is what I'm saying. This is what you're out here dealing with, and this is the narcissistic entitlement that is manifest in the majority of Western women right now. It really, really is. So this is a pathological problem. It really is. This is not just like we're focusing in on, a couple of extreme cases here. This is a doctor saying this. She requires a limo before she gets ridden. Yeah. Oh man. But just think of the arrogance of that. What are you, the Queen of England or some shit? I thought you were independent woman, boss beige, entrepreneur bitch who doesn't need no man. So like, why are you gonna have a man drive you to the function, which you're gonna get a free dinner as you talk to another man on your phone, drinking on pills?
And she said, even with all of that, there's no guarantee. There's no fine.
I want to see what I didn't really see what that said. Yeah, dinner was amazing. I just have something to say. Please don't take it the wrong way. Did you seriously only get me flowers? There is other surprise or something. Yeah. Well, this has become a hustle too. So like they're hustling from simps. I get it. But this is just crazy. If you're gonna get like this is the modern woman today. You take her out on a date, being kind.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end.
And I have something for this chick right here.
Let us pray the pimp's prayer. Lord, please pray for the soul of this bitch and guide my pimp hand and make it strong, Lord, so that she might learn a hole's place. Amen.
And she said, even with all of that, there's no guarantee. There's no final commitment. But now it seems young women are just taught that affection simply arrives. Of the gifts, the trips, everything just arrives.
You got me normal doors.
It's a Tesla.
My dream car is an X.
Something else she said also stuck with me. She said, when I met my husband's parents, I was terrified. I desperately wanted them to like me. I spent a lot of effort in how I behaved with them. And now today,
you think that happens now?
when I meet these girlfriends of my sons, they almost seem indifferent. Arrive late. They always have a headache. They don't make any effort to get to know us. And she said, it's almost like I'm the one who's on audition. I'm the one who's nervous to make it.
So Math Man, you're gonna be running into this, or your sons are gonna be eventually dealing with this. Is gonna be sort of a tough thing. Maybe they should try to lock a woman down, very young, and try to get with the high school sweetheart or something like that. Tell them to look for that agreeableness. I don't really know how to give much advice on that. That's going to be difficult. But I don't know if this other woman's sons were teenagers. They're probably like in their 20s or something like that. But it's difficult out there.
Good impression on her. Courtship, it used to be you want to see the other person make an investment. That's what you're looking for. And that making an effort to have the parents like you is you investing in the relationship. I think these
And what does that also mean, showing up late? It doesn't mean showing up late. Doesn't mean dressing like a 304, pretending you have a headache because you're hungover. It means dress conservatively, have some decorum, Have some class, have some respect. Don't say brah to the mom and try to get, some of her Xanax and wine and you're 19 at, the first time you meet them and say you need to go smoke weed because you have ADHD or something like that. Carlos writes in, I think simping wasn't anywhere as destructive till social media greatly expanded these women's choices. Yeah. Like what we're talking about as simping now used to sometimes be just like a romantic gesture, which is nice. And by the way, oftentimes takes courage to do, too. So there is something behind it. You know what I mean? It takes, a little bit of balls to do something like that sometimes, So that should be counted for. Yeah, Math Man, it says I'm already working it out with them. I'm sending them overseas. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to just go overseas because right now I'm just more in that monk mode. I can't deal with it. I'm giving up. I'm giving up. Well, I'm not really giving up. I'm just not allowing a ton of bullshit. I'm just not. I'm barely even fooling around with any girls anymore by choice.
Proposals are just the first manifestations. So here's a mother posting on Facebook a photograph of her daughter's proposal and saying just, it's so wonderful to see a boy treating her right. This is just her getting the princess treatment she deserves because she's a princess and it's just the bare minimum. What is this treating her right? And then underneath that, a mother replies with a question. She asks whether the boy had actually made the sign himself, because in her experience, these elaborate proposal posters are usually made by the boy's mother, who spends hours on Pinterest creating the perfect display while her son simply held it for the photograph. So we now have mothers performing romance on behalf of their teenage sons, so that another mother's daughter can upload.
She's trying to cover for him. Boost it up, hyping it, just like you should be hyping the stream, liking the stream. That's what you should do.
It as proof that she's being valued. I can't, and then everyone celebrates it. So it's so cute. This is really just this epidemic of narcissistic mothers raising narcissistic daughters. The narcissism in the mother of the boy being, look what a perfect ally I raised, an ally.
Exactly. The nice guy, the simp. I put the woman on the pedestal. She goes before me. Let me take my jacket off and throw it in a puddle as you walk over it. Let me pull over and change your tire as you're on your way to your ex-boyfriend's house who is hitting you. Let me do those things for you. Let me buy those drinks for you. You look like you've had a long day, miss. Let me just buy a round of drinks for you and all your hoe friends. Don't worry, I got your tab. I'll give you a ride home.
For princesses everywhere. Everyone. Yes, we are doing better. And then these poor boys. This is not cute. Chivalry has its purpose. It's a very old concept. It's supposed to be safe.
Yeah. Chivalry is dead. Chivalry isn't dead. Chivalry is head.
Chicken saying, I'm trying to make myself into someone who's worthy of your sacrifice. And the woman you're trying to woo, she's supposed to be a maiden, and then she's supposed to transition into someone who sacrifices back. And
so another factor here, or I suspect another factor, is birth control. So when women are on birth control, they like a guy who they're conflicted. Over here, they want the savage guy, the non-birth control guy, the kind of maybe ugly looking, but will provide and is more of like a caveman savage. He will really protect her and stuff like that. On the other hand, when they're have the birth control over here, they kind of want a guy who just inflates their ego, seems like a good provider, has a good line online persona and is kind of more fake. So it's not all the time, but in some cases that's a little bit what it is. In other words, they're not attracted who they biologically like traditionally should be if it wasn't any like modifications of anything. They're attracted to different things, and when they're attracted to different things, it boosts their status up in society. So it's boosting this side's up into society from the social status of the social media, where this one is not getting equal credit or something. So just something to look at.
That never happens. She wants to stay in that maiden archetype indefinitely, being given things indefinitely. They want that investment from him. They want the eternal courtship without making a commitment towards marriage. Well, until they're 35, and then they complain, where have all the good men gone?
Where are we
exactly
finding the men that don't stop? Where are we finding them? Where are all the good men at?
Where have all the good men gone? Where are all the good men?
Where do I find the nice guy that wants a simple, healthy relationship?
Oh, where the fuck are you finding good men?
Another dynamic that we see that sort of where you see this emotional immaturity, I would say, lack of transitioning where that should have happened, is the ick.
I go, what's the ick? She goes, the ick is when you go on a date with a guy who does one thing and you never want to fuck him ever.
Yeah. And think of how privileged that is too. And these are very small things. It's not like, I'm sure men can have something, but it's got to be something like really bad. The ick only exists in a vacuum of privilege.
I was like, that's the least relatable thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I was like, what happened? She goes, we went to a park. He sat crisscross applesauce.
Now, therapists and psychologists are coming out and trying to say that no, this reveals a deep neurobiological mate selection mechanism.
Cope. Again, who runs most of psychology and therapy and all that, writes a lot of these articles? Women. So they're going to, try to run cover for that stuff.
And it's like they search for evolutionary explanations to sort of excuse women of this ridiculous trend.
What's your biggest ick?
It's a train ticket.
What? Did you say buy a train ticket?
Yeah, buy a train ticket. Honestly, it's actually disgusting. It's not manly.
It's not manly to buy a train ticket.
No, it's petty. It's little boy behavior.
It's ridiculous.
And she's probably serious about that too. And meanwhile, she's probably been in it on a train.
She belongs to the streets.
That's why.
Word
That's the only train ticket she likes.
that they use to disqualify men. I don't believe any of it, because if you look at what women say when asked what gives you the ick, there's no obvious biological principle connecting these behaviors at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen this, where it's like a guy on TikTok or something like that watches all these videos, and it's something that women say, and I actually believe that these are kind of genuine. So like, we're at 227 here. Doesn't like wrestling. Don't fall over. So if you fall over, you're cooked. If you ride a bike, don't ride a bike. Don't wear skinny jeans. Don't breathe. So if someone breathes, they're bad. Don't cry. Doesn't know how to cook. Don't know. So like all these things. So in other words, it's saying if you cry, if you have a PlayStation, if you do know how to cook, shit like that. So it's ridiculous. But this only exists in a a vacuum of privilege. Red Door Woman writes in, everyone has idiosyncrasies which sometimes can be charming. Yeah. Some people just have a weird quirk about them. That should be, for all of, how much women like to say they like to celebrate diversity, not really.
So if this were an evolved mechanism for avoiding poor mates, then we'd expect some consistency, right? Instead, the triggers are astonishingly arbitrary. They occur precisely when the man stops performing effortless confidence and starts revealing that he has feelings.
That he's a human being. He's not perfect. He's just tired or something.
That he is a
You
human
know,
being
doesn't give a
who
shit
is
that
sometimes
day.
awkward, that becomes emotionally invested, that reveals vulnerability, that he is a human being that
I thought women wanted a vulnerable guy, though.
she has to show empathy for, she has to relate to, and she gets the ick.
This morning, I was on a flight with my fiance.
Well, yeah, but Math Man, they're giving us the ick because it's like deeply rooted psychological problems. You know what I mean? It's like diagnosed psychological problems. Like we're saying, you're giving me the ick because you're on 3, you know, psychiatric medications and stuff. So we're not being very picky. We're saying that we're getting it, but not these arbitrary things. You know what I mean? It's got to be, you know, something really bad. You know, I get the ick on a girl that's had a train run on her. That's my ick. That's an ick. Sorry. You know, I guess, you know, it's crazy.
And he got a nosebleed and I got the ick. It's so cruel. Do you know why? One, because he just got a nosebleed, like at the most inconvenient time. We just landed, the seatbelt sign was still on. He's doing an 11. I'm like, calm down. 2, he's acting as if it's painful.
Bless him.
And I'm like, it's not painful. And he's like, And I'm like, it's not painful though. It's not painful.
Well, he could have been kind of being a pussy a little bit if it was. She has a little bit of a point there.
I do it professionally.
It's giving ick.
And it seems they want someone who appears completely.
Also, too, they're scanning for it. They're on a date and they're just, you know, looking for something to be wrong. Aha! I found it. He didn't tie his shoes the way I like. Ha 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 ha. Crazy.
Completely self-sufficient, emotionally.
The generously is supposed to give the ick, not nitpicking under a microscope. Yeah.
Controlled, socially desired. They're selecting for a man who can permanently.
Like we're saying ick is like she's a single mom. That's, you know, that's a problem here. We don't, you know, she has STDs. Sorry, that's an ick. I know we're, you know, being judgmental here, you know, so that we have shit like that, but we're not here like making a list of it. We're watching a doctor here trying to figure out the female mind and all these psychological triggers and shit.
Occupy this role of protector and provider, an emotional anchor, someone who requires very little emotional caretaking in return because they want to be in this maiden.
And also, too, just remember, ick is 1 letter off from dick.
She belongs to the streets.
Role forever.
I get the ick so fucking quickly. Like if you are not obsessed, if you're not obsessed with me, I don't want it. I'm immediately not interested. Like what? No. Thirsty. You need to be absolutely starving for me. If I eat.
So she wants you to like simp for her, basically. But then once you simp for her, she won't like that either, probably.
Even feel remotely like you're not as into me as you were yesterday, like I'm gone.
Wow.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
So sorry about that. Not really sorry.
They want a permanent psychological structure of courtship. And for that, he can't become someone she has to take care of and perform empathy for, etc. This reel is disturbing in that sense, showing how even in a marriage, a man can't get the basic level of empathy from his wife.
What are you doing? Thought you were looking. I'm looking at this. What is it?
I've seen this. This is actually pretty cool here. This is actually so like, I believe this is what this is. He's had this like spool of metal cable, probably was like his grandfather's or something that he kept around to do small shit here and there. And then the cable was gone, but he probably had that, you know, even before he met his stupid wife.
It's wire. It's a spool of wire. And I'm almost out of it. Can you see the spool of wire?
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost out of it.
Okay.
And I've had this spool of wire for like 40 years. I bought it like this it's not a piece of a long time ago, but it's like 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense? This is what's left. Does that make
I'm
sense?
sorry to hear that, and sad for you, but you're wearing your Jets hat, and I'm a little concerned right now that you're wearing your Jets hat. I thought that's why you were crying.
See how she's like trying to just out here humiliating him and posting it to all these people. Now we're seeing this video of him getting humiliated. It's really crazy. It's really crazy.
Oh, pimp down, pimp in disgrace. Oh my God.
Okay, I'm done.
There's clearly that element of human, this interpersonal relationship that they're.
Red Door writes in, my husband courted me. 1 week he split a cord of wood. The next week he left a rack of moose antlers on my welcome mat. Being indigenous, I thought, dang, he'll keep me warm and fed. Yeah. But that's not simping. That's giving you, like, Red Door woman is not a corrupted person. So she's like, wow, he's giving me value. He put in effort here. This is nice. He's not just some disposable piece of trash and I can go get more items from other people. You know what I mean? Like, she has some appreciation. If you did that now, they would probably laugh at you on TikTok or something.
Unable to form. They know how to consume relationships, to rank them and to critique them. They know exactly how to describe what's.
And what's all that is just belittling, shaming you, embarrassing you, humiliating you, belittling you, judging you, quantifying you, saying you have a small dick, saying you have a huge dick, saying you breathe funny. You know what I mean? It's just becoming endless now.
Wrong. They don't know how to make things work. It's the ick is the emotional language of a generation that has become unusually intolerant of just ordinary
human beings.
Affection, and that makes intimacy completely impossible. I think this is because we have fostered so much fragile narcissism in young women that they are incapable of forming normal relationships. They're only seeing.
They are. The men are trying to, but now they're starting to give up. It takes two to tango here.
Seeking someone to protect that ego, to constantly adore them, so neurotic and emotionally fraught that they completely crumble at the sign of any humanity in the man they're dating. That's what the ick says. It's the female narcissist being disgusted at a man's vulnerability. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please.
Yeah, I think she does a good job. I'm gonna keep doing some more of these shows, diving into deep psychology of women. I feel like we're learning things. So we learned what are some key things to look for, why to look for it. I want to learn and not just be, calling women hoes and stuff like that. That's fun and everything, but I want to walk away. We gain some insight here. And we understand, like, a lot of this is just, it's a pathology. It's pathological en masse. It's like a mass pathology that we're seeing. It's a new phenomenon that we're seeing. So, don't think it's just you and just every chick that you pick is like this. Is like, no, this is like 80%, 80-20, if not more. So that's what it's like. So I have like a meeting to go to at 8, but I found this pretty kind of dope artist or some music that I'm going to play on the way out that I've kind of been into. It's not an Evil Eddie one this time. It's just more of a vibe, this one. So I'm gonna just let this play on the way out, and I might even do another live stream after I take a walk and do this meeting that I have to do. This guy I found, he kept coming up on my TV's YouTube called, I'll actually put his YouTube up here. But I was digging this vibe. It's called No Matter What Happens, Never Give Up.